In today's episode, we'll be having a look at the Fiat 1800B brochure. Hello and welcome to Quarterlight. If you're new, Quarterlight is a car brochure channel looking at car brochures from around the world, like the one we're looking at today for the Fiat 1800. Last few Mondays we've been looking at various different Fiats. Quite a few people say more Fiats please, so here we go. So I'm going to throw that on the board now and have a little bit of a chat about it. So here is today's brochure, and don't worry, I will be zooming in a moment. So this is the Fiat 1800, which ran from 1959 to 1968. I don't believe this particular brochure is dated, but it's going to be a 60s brochure for sure. I'm going to think around about 63, but like I said, it isn't dated. There was also a larger one actually called the Fiat 2100 with a larger engine. That's a little bit rarer. That ran from 59 to 61, and then you could get super rare things like the Fiat 2100 Familial or Familiare. An extremely rare estate car, and I think they're all really beautiful looking cars. And then they produce like more of a I'm going to say bargain basement, but a less expensive model, we should say, called the Fiat 1500L in 63. But the model we got today is the Fiat 1800. Love the design of these. Easy to kind of like think it might have been a Pininfarina design, which it certainly isn't. But when you look at them next to things like the Austins and the Morrises, it almost has that sort of air of a Pininfarina design, but it's not. But yeah, a very lovely car. Let's just zoom in a bit further, I think. So quite an unusual image on the front brochure here, and there are certainly better images on the inside, but yeah, an unusual image on the front cover with these unusual colours. I particularly like the headlights, actually, how they kind of like style above the headlights. It's an unusual shape that it creates. Anyway, we're waffling a bit. Let's open the brochure up. So when we open it up, we kind of like find that this is a fold out style brochure. It's a full size brochure, unlike the very small Fiat brochures that we have been concentrating on. This is more of a fold out style, so more content, more things to have a look at. There is also an interesting dealer stamp on this one saying Bolton of Leeds Limited, 120 Albion Street, Leeds. I'm sure, well, what is there now, I don't know, but I certainly would imagine that Fiat dealer isn't there now. But an unusual car. I can't imagine they've sold many. Can you imagine these driving around in Leeds? I don't know. They must not have sold many, I would say, compared to all the Austin Cambridges and Morris Oxfords that would have been travelling around. Although this is a bit more luxurious, I kind of like feel. I'm surprised it doesn't have a Lancia badge rather than a Fiat badge. It's more of a luxury Fiat, certainly a rare thing. And there was also Seat badged ones as well. I think they used them in Spain as possibly taxis, actually. But anyway, we'll read some of the text. We'll come back to these images, I think. So it begins by telling us the roomy and comfortable Fiat 1800B has won international acclaim with its 6-cylinder 97 horsepower SAE engine with a maximum speed of over 90 miles per hour. Exceptional flexibility, engine equipped with alternator. The cooling fan has an electromagnetic coupling engaged only when required by the temperature of the cooling system. Servo operated disc brakes on all four wheels. For easier maintenance, greasing has been eliminated except on the propeller shaft bearings. The 1800B is spacious with generous internal dimensions and efficient heating and ventilation for all seasons. The 1800B is available in saloon and station wagon versions. So a couple of things to mention there. Disc brakes all round, which is incredible on this age of car. Just remind us what a fancy car it actually was. Now when we talk about the B, kind of like the B was the later version of the Fiat 1800. That came a little bit later, in around about 1961, and then that is when the disc brakes on all four wheels became available, replacing the four drum brakes. So that was a bit of an update on the B version. Also, it talks about the speed as well, maximum speed of over 90 miles per hour. That's quite impressive for the time, and again, that came with the B version. I think the earlier version was under 90 miles per hour, so they did some updates on the B basically. Anyway, let's have a look at some of the images. Look at the dash. I must admit, I really love the dash boards on these 60s cars, most of them, to be honest with you. And again, this does look very nice. We've got the 1800 wording on the dash as well. Nice sort of Fiat script on the steering wheel, and that sort of like circular horn ring looks very nice. It tells us the 800B interior is like a well-appointed and silent lounge. Neat and attractive arrangement of controls and equipment under instrument panel. The heater and its controls blend in with a wide utility shelf. And then we get this rather beautiful looking interior. Those white seats look something else. And if we zoom in a bit further, looks like we get opening rear quarter lights at the back there, as well as the front. All very nice stuff, and we got these big bench seats. Certainly it wasn't your ordinary car. And then we got this main image here showing us what a beautiful car these are. Loved it in red. It's a shame really that they actually did this in the brochure in sort of like a moving travelling image. I would love a still version of this because it does look an extremely lovely example in this colour. Big white wall tyres, windscreen wipers, sort of like the clap hand design. Overall, a really elegant looking car, and I'm sure even then you would have given it a second look. It's something a little bit special. Big wings, I was going to say. Big fins going out the back there. Like I say, it does have sort of hints of Pininfarina, doesn't it? The designer was actually Dante Giacosa. Apologies if I'm saying that incorrectly, but a beautifully designed car. So panning the camera back again, of course we need to open this flap to see what this is hiding behind. We've got a little bit of a side image. Some sort of features are shown here, and then the mechanicals over this side. Let's start here though. So look at the rear there. It's really giving me Morris Oxford vibes with those fins actually. Wheel trims look good with those big white wall wheels, and then a pan forward. Bit of a curved front windscreen as we can see here. Tiny little side indicators, and then we've got those lovely big chrome bumpers with these overriders on them. And then I guess this is what takes us away from Pininfarina. We've got this sort of like front end that comes down almost a little bit Mercedes-esque, but quite a striking line they decided to do there, which I really like actually. It's one of the things I really like about the Fiat 1800s is that front end, make it look a little bit different. Text wise, it tells us the mechanical features. It says mechanical quality. So we get a 6-cylinder 97 horsepower SAE engine, fan with electromagnetically controlled engagements, alternator, 2 oil filters, 4 synchromesh gears, minimum maintenance steel rod linkage and front suspension articulations require no greasing, vacuum servo brake, highly comfortable suspensions, optional automatic clutch. For safety, we get disc brakes on all 4 wheels, padded instrument panel, variable speed windscreen wipers, door safety lock by button control, ample side, front and rear windows, 2 backup lamps. For convenience, we get air-conditioned interior, Front seat with reclining backrests. Rear seat with central armrest. Comfortable armrests on all doors. Luxury instrument panel. Neat arrangement of controls under fascia and ample utility shelf. Courtesy lights on all doors. Swivelling venti panes with drip trough. Windscreen washers. Ashtrays on rear doors. Ample luggage boot. Engine compartment. Luggage boot and glove compartment lights controlled by lid opening. All these are a reminder that this wasn't really an ordinary car. I don't have the price list, but you can really assume this was not really for the average person. It would have been a little bit more expensive for sure, and I'm sure even in the 60s I can't imagine many of these driving around. You do kind of like get the overall impression it would be sort of more in sort of like a Mercedes-Benz category of pricing, and again you kind of like feel, you know, it would be more fitting to have a Lancia badge on there than a Fiat badge, but that's the way they went. Now, when we look at the end of the brochure here, we get more mechanicals, so let's have a look at those. So here is a look at our 6-cylinder engine and gearbox. It tells us 6-cylinder engine having great flexibility of operation and acceleration. Vibration-less, equipped with electromagnetic fan that cuts in only when water temperature so requires. It continues by telling us the engine of the 800B is equipped with alternator. This means full charge of battery at all times, even in slow-moving city traffic or when electric load is highest. Long life and no need for lubrication. And then we get vacuum servo for the disc brakes on all wheels, and a nice little diagram. And then a diagram and text telling us the 800B needs little maintenance care. Greasing is confined to propeller shaft alone, as steering linkage and front suspension articulations are lubricated for life. And then when we turn to the back page, it tells us about the 800B station wagon or estate. I'm sure these must be extremely rare, and I certainly do like the design. It's a shame there's not more images of the station wagon, and then it starts talking about the technical specifications on the bottom here. But let's have a look at the station wagon first. So yeah, I think it still looks a very handsome looking car, even as an estate version. Again, it kind of like reminds me of at the back there of a Morris Oxford. I guess possibly people was looking at each other's designs at the time. The text tells us the station wagon version of the 800B offers increased internal capacity for carrying large items of luggage, sporting equipment and so forth. With the rear seat and squab folded down, a flat floor is provided. Double tailgate allows easy access to the rear compartment. The station wagon has the same mechanical specifications, elegance and refined appointments of the saloon version. So moving on to the technical specification, unfortunately tiny little writing, but we'll certainly pick out the key points. So I talk about the dimensions. Moving on to the engine, says 6 cylinders, displacement 1795 cc, 97 horsepower SAE. And what else have we got on here? So a cylinder block with cast iron crankcase, aluminium cylinder head, counterbalanced 4-bearing crankshaft overhead valves, dual barrel downdraft carburetor, air intake and silencer and cleaner, mechanical pump, fuel feed to carburetor, forced lubrication by gear pump, centrifugal oil filter and supplementary cartridge bypass filter, cooling water circulated by centrifugal pump, electromagnetic radiator fan with engagement controlled by thermostatic switch, starter motor engaged by electromagnet, power plant suspension on rubber pads, clutch single plate dry hydraulic operated, gearbox with 4 forward speeds and reverse, 3-ring synchronizers for engagement of first, second, third and fourth, gear shift lever under steering wheel, propeller shaft in 2 sections with central rubber mounted bearing, universal joints on rear section and flexible rubber joint on front section. Rear axle with high-powered final drive gear, ratio 10:43. Front suspension by torsion bars and wishbones, trailing links, telescopic shock absorbers, anti-roll bar, suspension articulations, not required lubrication. Rear suspension is by leaf springs and telescopic shock absorbers, anti-roll bar, steering by worm and roller, steering linkage articulations, not requiring lubrication. Brakes, disc type on all 4 wheels with vacuum servo brake, pressure regulator on rear wheels, emergency and parking brake acting on rear wheel brake discs. Talks about the fuel tank, looks like a 60 litre, disc wheels and the sizes. Electric system is 12 volt, lamps, headlights with asymmetric low beams, spray windscreen washer, pedal operated together with the windscreen wipers, sweep rate adjustment by rheostat, speed about 90 miles per hour. Optional extras, we can have that automatic clutch. And then talks about the different details about the station wagon having a high-powered final drive, 837, and the tyres look like they're a different size as well. Then we've got the tiny small print, and I won't bore you with all that, but basically it's just saying, like all brochures do, we can change things at any time. The information in here isn't binding, etc. It says Fiat Press and Propaganda edition number 1999, printed in Italy. And then on the right hand side, Gross Monte C, Torino. No date appears to be on the brochure though. So there we go, that comes to an end of another Quarterlight episode and this lovely Fiat 1800B brochure. I would certainly like to have a closer look at these. They are a very interesting high-spec vehicle for the 60s for sure. Sales in the UK, like most big Fiats, would have been tiny. I can't imagine many of these selling in the UK. I'm sure they were popular in Italy, of course. Maybe with a nice climate, maybe there are a few of them still running about. But certainly a very interesting car for sure. But thank you so much for watching today. If you've not done already, please do consider subscribing, which is absolutely free. It really helps the channel, so please do consider doing so, as well as giving this episode a thumbs up. It all helps the channel as a whole. You can also become a member for a very small monthly fee. Have a look at that on the homepage. Appreciate all the members out there. That little bit of extra really helps, keeps the channel slowly moving forward. Thank you so much for watching. We'll end with our last look at the brochure, and to tell you that we're going to pop a couple of boxes up here. One will probably be a box with various different Fiats in it. One will probably just be a random box that YouTube decides what you get. But like I say, thank you so much for watching. Please do take care. We'll see you again very soon. All the best and goodbye.